The sky was burning red. Smoke covered the battlefield like a heavy blanket. The ground shook again and again as explosions ripped through the ruins of the city. Humans and aliens had been fighting here for days, but tonight was worse than ever. Screams mixed with the roar of fire, and the air was thick with dust and blood. In the middle of this chaos ran a young human man. His name was Daniel. He was not a soldier. He had no armor, no training, and no plan. He was only running to survive. All around him, he saw broken buildings, shattered glass, and fire spreading through the night. The ground was covered in shrapnel, and the sky flashed with light from alien weapons. Daniel stumbled forward, coughing as smoke filled his lungs. He did not know where he was going. He only knew that if he stopped, he would die. His heart pounded in his chest as his legs carried him through the wreckage. Then, in the middle of the broken street, he saw her. It was an alien girl. Small, fragile, her skin glowing faintly in the dark. She was trapped beneath a fallen beam, unable to move. Her wide eyes stared up in fear as the battle raged around her. She was not a soldier either. She was just a child of a different world, lost in the fire of war. Daniel froze. Every thought screamed at him to keep running. She was not human. She was not his problem. But something inside him did not listen. He saw her trembling hands, her helpless face, and the fear in her eyes, and in that instant he made his choice. He rushed toward her, ignoring the fire and the sound of alien weapons screaming overhead. His hands burned as he pushed against the heavy beam. The alien girl whimpered in pain, but Daniel did not stop. His muscles ached, his body screamed, yet he pulled with everything he had. With one last desperate push, the beam rolled away. The girl gasped for air as she was freed. Daniel reached down and lifted her to her feet. She was weak, trembling, but alive. "Run," he shouted, even though he did not know if she understood his language. He pushed her away, pointing down the street. She hesitated, staring at him with wide, glowing eyes, and for a second it seemed as if she wanted to say something. But there was no time. The ground shook again. A blast echoed across the street, brighter and louder than all the others. Daniel turned his head and saw it. Another explosion was coming. The fireball burst forward, throwing burning shrapnel like knives across the air. There was no time to think, no time to escape. Daniel's body moved before his mind could catch up. He turned, grabbed the alien girl, and pulled her close. Then he threw himself around her, his back facing the explosion. The world became fire. Shards of metal ripped through his body. Pain exploded through him like lightning. His ears rang and his lungs screamed for air. He felt the alien girl's small body trembling beneath him, shielded by his own. He fell to the ground, his vision blurring. The sounds of battle faded to whispers. He could feel the blood leaving his body, warm and heavy. His strength was slipping away, but his arms stayed wrapped around her until the very end. The girl looked up at him with tears glowing on her strange face. Her mouth moved, whispering something in her language, but he could not hear it. His world was fading into black. Daniel's last thought was not of fear. It was not of regret. It was of her, the alien girl he had saved. A stranger from another world. Someone who should not matter to him, yet in that moment she mattered more than his own life. His body grew heavy. His breathing stopped, and then nothing. Darkness. Silence. But something was waiting for him beyond that silence. Something that would change everything. Darkness. That was all Daniel knew. It was not the quiet of sleep nor the peaceful silence of rest. It was heavy, endless, pressing down on him like the weight of the world. He thought he was dead. Maybe he was. He had given his life to protect the alien girl, and that should have been the end. But then, slowly, he began to hear something. A faint sound, a hum, like soft machines breathing. Then came voices, low, strange, speaking words he did not understand. They were sharp and flowing at the same time, like water moving over stone. Daniel tried to open his eyes. At first, nothing happened. His eyelids felt heavy as if they had been sealed shut. He fought against it, forcing them open just a little. Light stabbed into him, blinding and white. His heart began to race. He was not dead. He was somewhere else. Shadows moved above him. Figures stood around his body. Their faces blurred in his vision, but their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. They were tall, with long limbs and strange markings on their skin. They were not human. Daniel's chest tightened. Fear surged through him. Had he been captured? Were these enemies? He tried to move, but his body felt weak, too heavy to obey. Pain shot through his back where the shrapnel had struck him, but something was different. The pain was fading, not growing worse. One of the aliens leaned closer. Its face came into focus. Smooth skin, pale like stone, with deep silver eyes that seemed to shine in the light. The alien spoke again, its voice low and careful. Daniel could not understand the words, but there was no anger in the tone. Another figure entered his view. Small, trembling, it was her, the alien girl. Her glowing eyes widened when she saw him awake. She rushed to his side, pressing her small hand against his arm. Her lips moved quickly, speaking in her language, her voice full of relief. Daniel could not understand the words, but he understood the feeling. She was alive, and she was glad that he was alive too. Daniel's throat was dry. His voice cracked when he tried to speak. "Where am I?" His words came out weak, broken. The aliens looked at one another. They did not answer. Instead, the one with silver eyes turned to a device at the side of the room. Lights flickered across the walls. Daniel realized he was lying on some kind of table, surrounded by strange machines. The room hummed with energy he had never felt before. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to remember. The explosion. The fire, the pain. He should have died. Yet here he was, alive, breathing. His body still hurt, but it was not broken. When he opened his eyes again, the girl was still staring at him. She whispered something softly, her hand resting on his chest. He wished he could understand her words, but he didn't need to. Her tears, her expression, they said enough. She had not forgotten him. Then the silver-eyed alien finally spoke again. The words were different this time, slower, heavy, as if it was trying to shape its tongue around a strange language. "You are chosen." The word struck Daniel like another explosion. He blinked in shock. Chosen? By who? By what? He wanted to ask, but the strength to speak left him. He fell back against the table, his chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. The alien girl leaned close, whispering something in his ear. Her voice was soft, almost like a song. He could not understand, but it calmed him. Then the silver-eyed alien turned away and spoke to the others in its own tongue. Their voices grew louder, sharper, as if they were arguing. Daniel could only catch pieces of their expressions: anger, doubt, fear. Some of them looked at him like he was dangerous. Others looked at him like he was sacred. Daniel tried to sit up, but his arms shook. His body had no strength left. Still, he forced himself up enough to look around. The room was large, filled with glowing walls and smooth black floors. Symbols ran across the walls, pulsing like veins of light. This was not human technology. This was far beyond anything he had ever seen. He was not on Earth anymore. The alien girl clutched his arm tightly, her glowing eyes never leaving his. He realized then he had saved her life, but now she was the only reason he was still alive. Daniel's voice was a whisper. "Why me?" The silver-eyed alien turned back to him. Its glowing gaze met his. For a moment the room went silent, then it spoke again in the same broken English. "Because you are the protector." Daniel froze. His heart pounded. The protector? He did not understand. He had been nothing but an ordinary man. Yet now these aliens were calling him something more. Something he never asked for. The weight of their stares pressed down on him. He had no idea what they wanted from him or why, but deep down he knew one thing. His life was no longer his own, and whatever was coming next, it was only the beginning. Daniel lay on the strange bed, his body weak but alive. The strange words of the silver-eyed alien still echoed in his mind. "You are the protector." He did not know what it meant. He did not feel like a protector. He felt like a broken man who should have died back on the battlefield. The room was quiet now. The tall aliens who had argued around him were gone, leaving only shadows and the sound of machines humming in the walls. Daniel closed his eyes, trying to calm his breathing. He remembered the explosion, the fire, the pain. He remembered shielding the alien girl with his body, and he remembered the darkness that had swallowed him. He opened his eyes again, and she was there. The alien girl stood in the doorway, her small figure glowing softly in the dim light. Her eyes shone like two stars, wide with hope and fear. For a moment she did not move. She only looked at him, as if she was afraid that if she blinked he would disappear. Then slowly she stepped forward. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, but his voice was weak. Still, he managed to whisper, "You survived." The girl nodded quickly. She crossed the room, her steps light and hurried until she stood beside his bed. Her hands trembled as she reached out, touching his arm as if to make sure he was real. Tears formed in her glowing eyes. She spoke in her own language, her words soft, filled with emotion. Daniel could not understand, but he felt the meaning in her voice. She was thanking him, her fingers curled around his hand, small and gentle. For a moment, Daniel felt warmth rush through him. She was alive. That was all that mattered. Then the door behind her opened. 3 tall aliens entered, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Their long robes swept the floor as they moved. They were not soldiers. They looked older, wiser, leaders. The girl quickly stepped back, bowing her head, but her hand stayed close to Daniel's. One of the aliens raised its arm, and the room grew silent. Its voice was deep, commanding, yet calm. Daniel could not understand the words, but he could feel the weight of them. The other 2 nodded in agreement. Then the alien girl spoke up. Her voice was strong now, no longer soft or afraid. She looked at the leaders and spoke quickly, pointing at Daniel, her words sharp and determined. Daniel's chest tightened. She was defending him. He did not know what she was saying, but her eyes burned with fire. She would not let them harm him. The leaders listened. They did not interrupt. When she finished, silence filled the room. Then the tallest of them turned to Daniel. It leaned closer, its glowing eyes locked on his. For a long moment it said nothing. Then in slow, broken English it spoke. "You saved her. You are protector." Daniel's heart pounded. The word again. Protector. He wanted to deny it, to tell them he was just a man, nothing more. But the girl's hand squeezed his as if begging him not to speak. The leader continued, its voice low but firm. "You belong to us now." The word struck him like another blast. Belong to them? What did that mean? Prisoner? Ally? Something worse? Daniel shook his head weakly. "I'm human. I don't belong to anyone." His voice was hoarse but steady. The alien leaders exchanged glances. One of them frowned, but the tallest simply nodded as if it expected this answer. The girl leaned close to Daniel again, whispering quickly in her own tongue. He could not understand, but he saw the fear in her eyes. Whatever belonging meant, it was not simple. Then, without warning, a sound filled the air, a deep horn echoing through the walls. The lights in the room flickered. The leaders turned sharply toward the door. Their glowing eyes narrowed. Something was happening outside. The girl gasped, gripping Daniel's hand tighter. Her body shook, her glow dimming. Daniel forced himself to sit up despite the weakness in his limbs. His heart raced. He had no idea what was coming, but he knew it was not good. The tallest leader turned back to him one last time. Its voice was sharp now, urgent. "You must choose, stay, or be taken." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Stay? Taken? By who? His mind raced, but there was no time for answers. The sound of footsteps thundered outside the chamber. The girl pressed her forehead gently to his hand, her tears falling like light. She whispered one word in broken English, a word that sent chills through him. "Please, stay." Before he could answer, the doors burst open. Armed aliens stormed inside, their weapons glowing, their faces full of anger. They pointed at Daniel, shouting words he could not understand, but the meaning was clear. They wanted him dead. Chaos filled the chamber. The doors had burst open and armed aliens rushed in, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Their voices rose like thunder, shouting in their strange language. Every one of them pointed at Daniel. He did not need to understand the words to know what they wanted, his death. The alien girl cried out, standing in front of him. Her small body shook, but she spread her arms wide as if to shield him. Her voice trembled yet carried fire as she spoke to the soldiers. She pointed at Daniel, then at herself, shouting desperately. The soldiers hesitated, their glowing eyes narrowing. But the fury on their faces did not fade. Then one of the leaders stepped forward, the tall alien with silver eyes. It raised its arm, and the soldiers froze instantly, lowering their weapons but not stepping back. The room went silent except for the heavy breathing of Daniel and the faint hum of the strange machines around them. The silver-eyed leader looked at Daniel for a long time. Its face was unreadable, but its eyes seemed to search deep inside him. Finally, it spoke in broken English, the words slow and heavy. "They fear you. They fear what you are." Daniel's heart pounded. Fear him, he was no warrior. He was no hero. He was just a man who had thrown himself in front of an explosion. What could possibly make these aliens afraid of him? The leader continued. You survived. Our weapons never fail, yet you live. Daniel's breath caught. Was that it? The shrapnel, the fire, the blast, he should have died. But somehow he had survived. Somehow his broken body had been saved. Was it their technology? Or something else? He whispered, his voice rough. You healed me. The leader shook its head slowly. We only mend. You refuse death. You are not ordinary. Daniel stared at him, confusion burning in his chest. Refuse death? What did that mean? He remembered the explosion, the fire tearing through his body. He remembered the darkness swallowing him. He had not fought it. He had let go. Hadn't he? The alien girl's hand gripped his tightly. Her eyes were wet, glowing with tears. She whispered something in her language, her voice soft and pleading. The silver-eyed leader's gaze shifted to her. He nodded slowly. Then he looked back at Daniel. She says, You are protector for her, for us. Daniel shook his head weakly. I'm no protector. I just saved her, that's all. But the leader did not agree. Its voice grew stronger. Not all. In our history, never has human shielded us. Never has human bled. For us, you did. It changes everything. The soldiers stirred, muttering in their language. Some looked uncertain now, their anger fading into doubt. Others still glared, their hands tight around their weapons. Daniel's mind spun. So that was it. To them, his sacrifice was not just an act of kindness. It was a sign, a symbol, something that had never happened before in their world. The leader stepped closer. Its silver eyes glowed brighter. You are bridge. Between human and us, Daniel swallowed hard. A bridge? Him? He felt like a prisoner, not a savior. But the way the leader said it, the way the soldiers stared at him, it was clear. They believed it. The alien girl squeezed his hand again. She nodded, whispering one word in broken English. Hope. Daniel's chest tightened. Hope. That was what she saw in him. That was what they all wanted from him. But then the leader's tone darkened. If you accept, you live. If you refuse, they will kill you. Daniel's blood ran cold. His eyes darted to the soldiers, their weapons still glowing faintly. He could see it in their faces. They would not hesitate if he said the wrong word. He wanted to shout that it was unfair. He wanted to tell them he was just a man, not some chosen one, not a protector, not a bridge between worlds. But the girl's eyes stopped him. She was looking at him with so much hope, so much trust. If he denied them, she would suffer too. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing hard. Then he whispered, What do you want from me? The leader leaned close, its silver eyes burning. Its voice was low, heavy, full of meaning. Not what we want. What galaxy needs, Daniel froze. The words echoed in his mind. Not what they wanted, what the galaxy needed. The leader turned away, giving a command in its own language. The soldiers lowered their weapons, though their eyes still burned with suspicion. The alien girl let out a breath of relief, pressing closer to Daniel. But Daniel's heart was heavy. He was alive, yes, but he was no longer free. He had become something else in their eyes, something larger than himself. The silver-eyed leader spoke one final time before leaving the room. Its words were sharp, certain, like a blade cutting into Daniel's soul. You are protector. You are ours now, and soon you will see the truth. The door closed, leaving Daniel with the alien girl beside him. Her hand held his tightly, but his heart sank, because deep down he knew one thing. This was only the beginning, and the truth, whatever it was, might destroy him. Daniel could not sleep. Even though his body was weak and heavy, his mind refused to rest. The silver-eyed leader's words kept repeating in his head. You are protector. You are ours now, soon. You will see the truth. He stared at the glowing ceiling above him, his hands still locked in the alien girl's gentle grasp. She had fallen asleep at his side, her small body curled in the chair beside his bed. Her glow dimmed when she slept, like a faint light in the dark. Daniel looked at her and felt a strange mix of peace and weight. He had saved her life, but now, because of that, his own life no longer belonged to him. The choice haunted him. Stay with them? Accept this strange role as their protector? Or fight, resist, and maybe die here, far from his own people? The thought of dying again chilled him. He had already felt death once, and it had been dark, endless, cold. But at the same time, The thought of surrendering himself to them was worse. He had never belonged to anyone. He was just a man, an ordinary man who had done one brave thing. That did not make him a leader. It did not make him a symbol, and yet the girl believed it did. Her glowing eyes, her tears, her whispered word. Hope. That was the chain binding him now. Not their weapons, not their threats. Her belief in him. The door opened suddenly, breaking his thoughts. 2 armed aliens entered. Their armor glowed faintly in the dim light. They pointed at him, then motioned for him to rise. Their faces were sharp, their eyes unkind. The girl stirred awake, frightened. She spoke quickly to them, but they only shook their heads and gestured again. Daniel understood. They wanted him to come. His legs shook as he pushed himself off the bed. His body was still healing, but he forced himself to stand. The girl grabbed his hand, whispering something in her language, her voice pleading. One of the soldiers shoved her back roughly. She cried out, but Daniel raised his hand, steadying her with his eyes. It's okay, he whispered, though his heart was not sure. The soldiers led him through dark hallways filled with glowing walls and humming machines. Strange symbols flickered as they passed, and the air felt heavy, charged with energy. He had no idea where they were taking him, but the weight in his stomach told him it was not good. Finally, they entered a vast chamber. The ceiling rose high above, glowing with silver light. Rows of aliens stood in silence, their eyes all fixed on him. At the far end stood the leaders, the silver-eyed one in the center with others beside him. The alien girl was already there, standing near them, her face pale with fear. Daniel was pushed to the center of the room. His heart raced as the silver-eyed leader raised its hand, silencing the crowd. Its voice boomed in broken English. Today, he chooses, protector or prisoner. The crowd murmured, their voices sharp and tense. Some looked at him with awe, others with hatred. Daniel's chest tightened. He was on trial, and the entire alien people were watching. The leader's eyes locked on him. You saved her. You bled. You lived. This makes you more. But if you refuse, we end you. Daniel swallowed hard. His throat felt dry. Every part of him screamed to run, to fight, to deny them. But where would he run? What could he fight with? His body was weak, his world gone. He looked at the alien girl. Her glowing eyes pleaded with him. She shook her head slightly, begging him not to say no. Daniel's voice was low but steady. I'm human. I don't belong to you. I don't belong to anyone. The crowd erupted in angry shouts. Some pointed at him. Others raised their fists. The soldiers reached for their weapons, but then Daniel raised his voice louder. But the room fell silent. All eyes fixed on him. He looked at the girl again, then at the leader. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. But if staying here means protecting her, then I will. Not for you. Not for your threats. For her. The girl gasped softly, her eyes filling with tears. The silver-eyed leader studied him for a long moment. Then slowly it nodded. Protect her. The crowd's anger turned to silence, then whispers. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The girl rushed forward, clutching Daniel's arm, her tears glowing against her cheeks. But Daniel felt no victory. He felt only the weight of chains, invisible but heavy. He had chosen, not freedom, not defiance, but a path that bound him tighter than any prison. The leader's voice echoed through the chamber. He stays. He protects. He is ours, the crowd roared, some in triumph, some in rage. Daniel's heart sank. He had survived once again. But now he was trapped in a role he did not choose, bound to a people he did not understand. And deep inside, a darker question rose in his mind. What if they were wrong? What if he was not the protector they hoped for, but something else entirely? The chamber was still echoing with voices long after Daniel's words. He had chosen to stay, not for the leaders, not for their threats, but for the alien girl who looked at him as if he was her only light in the dark. The leaders had accepted his answer, but the others, not all, were convinced. By the next morning, Daniel was dragged into another hall, even larger than before. It was shaped like a circle, with tiered rows of aliens watching from above. Their eyes glowed faintly in the shadows, hundreds of them staring down at him. He felt small beneath their gaze, weak and exposed. At the center of the hall stood a platform. They pushed him onto it. The alien girl was kept behind a barrier, her hands pressed against the glowing wall, her voice muffled as she cried his name. The silver-eyed leader raised its long hand and silence swept across the chamber. Its voice carried like thunder, though broken by the struggle of human words. Today, he stands in trial. Protector or deceiver? The crowd hissed and murmured. Some shouted angrily, pointing down at him. Others stayed quiet, their faces unreadable. Daniel's chest tightened. A trial. So this was what they meant. His life hung on the edge of their judgment. The leader continued. He shielded her. He bled. He lived. This is truth. But is it sign or trick? Today, we decide. Another alien, tall and fierce, stepped forward. Its eyes burned with anger. He is weak, human, he is nothing. He should have died. The alien's voice echoed, and the crowd cheered in agreement. Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to shout back, but what could he say? He was weak. He had almost died. He was no warrior. Then the silver-eyed leader turned to him. Speak, defend. Daniel's throat felt dry, but he forced his voice out. I didn't come here to be your symbol. I didn't come here to deceive anyone. I saw her. She was going to die, and I couldn't let it happen. The crowd stirred. Some scoffed, some leaned forward to listen. I'm just human, Daniel continued. I'm not chosen, not special. But if protecting her means something to you, then fine. Call me what you want, protect her, shield, anything, but I didn't do it for you. I did it because it was right. The chamber fell silent. The words hung in the air like fire. The alien girl pressed her glowing hands against the barrier, her voice breaking through for a moment. Protect her, she cried. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half shouting in rage. The silver-eyed leader raised its hand again, silencing them. Its glowing gaze stayed fixed on Daniel. You speak truth, but a truth is heavy. Protector is not word. It is burden. Will you carry it? Daniel's chest tightened. He thought of the explosion, of the fire tearing through him. He thought of her glowing eyes filled with fear and hope. He thought of the leaders, of the soldiers who wanted him dead. He drew a shaky breath. If it keeps her safe. Yes. The silver-eyed leader's eyes burned brighter. Then you face trial by fate. Before Daniel could ask, the floor beneath him shifted. The platform lowered into the ground, taking him into a darker chamber below. The crowd above roared with anticipation, their voices echoing like thunder. The new chamber was smaller, the walls lined with glowing symbols. In the center stood another alien, taller and stronger than any Daniel had seen. Its body was armored, its eyes burning with hate. This one doubts, the silver-eyed leader's voice echoed from above. If you are protector, you survive him. Daniel's blood turned cold. A trial, a fight, against something he could never defeat. The armored alien stepped forward, gripping a weapon that pulsed with deadly light. It pointed at Daniel, its voice sharp with rage. Human dies now. Daniel's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, no strength. Only his will. Only his choice. He thought of the girl watching above with tears in her eyes. He thought of her whisper. Hope. And as the armored alien lunged at him, Daniel knew one thing. This was not just a trial for his life. It was a trial for the meaning of humanity itself. The chamber shook with the sound of battle. Daniel stood on the lowered platform, his breath heavy, his body weak. Across from him towered the armored alien, its eyes burning like fire, its weapon glowing with deadly light. From above, hundreds of alien eyes watched, waiting to see if the human would rise as their protector, or die as a fraud. The armored alien struck first. A flash of light cut through the air, smashing into the stone near Daniel's feet. The shockwave knocked him back. His body ached, still healing from the shrapnel that had torn through him days before. He stumbled, barely keeping his balance. The crowd roared. Some shouted for his death. Others remained silent, their glowing eyes watching with doubt. Daniel's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his own will. The alien girl's voice rang from above, muffled by the barrier, but desperate. Protector, she cried, her glowing hands pressed against the wall as if trying to reach him. Her voice gave him strength. He could not give up, not here, not now. The armored alien charged, swinging its weapon. Daniel dove to the side, the blade of light cutting the air where he had been. He rolled, pain shooting through his ribs, but he forced himself up. He grabbed a broken shard of stone from the floor, holding it tight in his hand. It was small, pathetic compared to the alien's weapon, but it was something. The alien swung again. Daniel blocked with the shard, the clash sending sparks into the air. The force sent him flying back, but he held on. His body screamed in pain, but his mind refused to break. He thought of the girl, of the moment he shielded her from the explosion, of her glowing eyes full of hope. That was why he had lived. That was why he was still standing. The armored alien came at him again, faster this time. Daniel ducked low, the blade passing over his head. With all his strength, he drove the shard of stone into the alien's leg. The creature roared, stumbling back. The crowd gasped. Daniel's chest heaved as he pulled the shard free. His body was shaking, his vision blurred, but he had drawn blood. He had shown them he was not so easy to break. The armored alien growled, enraged. It raised its weapon for the killing strike. Daniel's legs threatened to collapse, but he stood firm. He raised the shard again, ready to fight to the last breath. At that moment, something shifted. The silver-eyed leader raised its hand, stopping the fight. The armored alien froze, its weapon inches from Daniel's chest. Silence filled the chamber. The leader's voice echoed, deep and final. "He is Protector." The crowd erupted, not in anger this time, but in awe. Some still doubted, but many bowed their heads. The alien girl cried out with joy, tears glowing on her face. Daniel collapsed to his knees, the shard slipping from his hand. His body was broken, his strength gone, but he was alive. He had survived their trial. The silver-eyed leader stepped forward, its glowing gaze fixed on him. "You bled for her. You bled again for us. Protector is not chosen. Protector is proven. You are Bridge." Daniel swallowed hard, his chest rising with heavy breaths. He wanted to deny it, to tell them again he was just a man, but the truth was clear in their eyes. To them, he was more. The alien girl rushed to him, breaking past the barrier. She fell to her knees and wrapped her arms around him, her tears falling on his skin. Her voice trembled in broken English. "You saved me. You saved us." Daniel closed his eyes. He had not asked for this. He had not wanted it. But maybe this was why he had lived. Above them, the sound of alarms blared. The chamber shook as distant explosions echoed. The leader's face hardened. "Enemy comes. Greater than us. Greater than you." But together, it looked at Daniel. Protector. Lead. Daniel's heart raced. He was no soldier, no leader. But as the alien girl held him tightly, as the crowd's eyes turned to him with hope, he understood. His choice had already been made the moment he threw himself over her on the battlefield. He stood slowly, his body weak, but his spirit burning. He looked at the leader, then at the hundreds of glowing eyes watching him. "I'll fight," he said. His voice was steady now, stronger than before. "Not for power, not for glory, but for her, for all of you, for us." The chamber roared with voices no longer divided. For the first time, they were united, and as the enemy ships drew closer in the skies above, Daniel knew one thing. This was not the end of his story. This was the beginning.